enough about that one, because what we're here to learn about now is set play strategy session with Coach Charlie Muldoon. For those of you who don't have the pleasure of knowing Charlie or having played with him or seen him work, he is a longtime professional player. He's achieved a 6 goal handicap. What are you now, Charlie?
Five.
Five? Five. He has, if you look at the tournaments that he has played in worldwide and won, they are, top tournaments all over the world. He also is somewhat unique among polo professionals in that he runs and has run a very number of successful polo programs for many years in the Washington, D.C. area. He is one of the Team USPA mentors, and as well as he was the coach of the U.S. team at the FIP World Championships in Argentina earlier this, well, I guess it's last year now. So with that, I'd like to introduce you to Charlie Muldoon, and you're in good hands. Take it away, Charlie.
I don't know how good a hands you're in, but I'm here. Um, thank you for that nice introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, yeah, tonight, well, first of all, let me say thank you very much for inviting me to present and to try and help out any way I can for the players out there who are trying to learn this wild game. Um, and I'm glad that each one of you are actually playing this game because, as we all know, it's the best game in the world. And I always tell people, they ask me why do I do it, and I say, well, it's because it's more addictive than crack. So, anyways, with that said, let's move on to what we're here to do tonight. Tonight we're going to talk about strategies, and strategy in polo is probably the most important part of your game. I always say that there's the physical part and the mental part, and if your team is, if your team you're playing in a it doesn't matter if you're playing a 0 goal tournament or a 40 goal tournament. Whatever level you're playing, everybody's pretty much going to be on the same side physically, but it's the mental side that wins games, and that's what we're going to talk about here tonight. We're going to talk about the strategy and the mental side of strategy, and how you beat teams, how you win with that, and on all aspects of the game. But tonight we're going to focus on penalty fours. We're going to focus on penalty fives, and mostly we're going to focus on the knocking tonight, which is one of the most important plays you'll do because you take your defensive play and make it into an offensive play. So first, let me get this off the screen. Now, I hope you guys can bear with me a little bit as I use this system. This is new to me, so I'm going to do this. It didn't revert. Let me see what happened here. Let me try it again.
Don't forget to touch your screen.
Ah, you're right. Okay, see? I told you guys. I'm just learning how to do this. So what we're going to do is, and as I go through, Kim will hear some questions. You guys can stop me at any time if you have a question. I don't mind. Kim, please keep me under control here and on time frame too, because I'm very winded, so I can talk. And so the first thing we're going to do is I like to go through the first two of the penalty fours and penalty fives, and go through a little bit of strategy here. And let me just back up a little second. Now, in polo, like I keep saying, is that I say it's 20% physical and 80% mental. And when I coach that way, because at any level, teams are basically the same. You have, if you're playing in a 4 goal tournament and there's two 4 goal teams, so the handicaps are, however the handicaps are going to be, you're going to have to match up and put players against players and see, try and get some mismatches going and do that. Now, how do you get that done? You don't get that done physically, you get that done mentally. You think about it. Your team has to come together and understand the strategy in which you're going to implement to make those mismatches happen, to make the team flow. And if you just show up at a game and 30 minutes before the game and go, hey, how you doing? How the kids? How this and that, blah blah, and you all jump on it. Oh, by the way, who am I covering? Who you covering? Blah blah. Nobody's going to know what's going on until about the fifth chuck or when everything's already over. So if you put two teams on the field and you go out there and one team has actually thought about it and concentrated and talked about it and spent an hour before the game doing this, and the other team just shows up, well, I would put the money on the team who actually talked about what they're going to do on knock-ins, what they're going to do on throw-in, what they're going to do on set plays defensively, what they're going to do on set plays offensively, all that. So that's all so important in polo because this is the hardest game you'll ever play. Not only just on the speed and everything, but it's because in the horse. Let's take the horse effect, of course, but that's the hardest part of it. But the strategy itself, the quickness and the just the speed, and I keep talking about that. But because what you'll find in polo is that the transitions, the set plays, and the transitions are what win or loses games. So with that said, let's move on. Let's go to let's talk about the penalty 4 a little bit. And again, you're gonna have to bear with me a little bit here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up this offensive team. Okay. So the team taking the penalty 4. So I'm going to say that's the number 3. Now it doesn't matter who it is because it's just whoever's hitting the penalty shot. And depending on what level you're playing in, let's see the average polo. Let's say 6-goal polo. In this, and as the lower the level of the polo, okay, the more strategy there kind of has to be. In the higher level polo, let's say this is a 3, 4, 5, 6-goal player hitting this ball. Well, 9 times out of 10 or 9 times out of 100, I would tell them just hit it, put it down the pipe. Same thing in low-goal polo, but what's going to happen is in higher goal polo, well, your number 4, whoever's not hitting it, sort of the other player on, let's say, defense, will probably just line up out here somewhere. The other 2 players, will line up here. This player right here will line up with his horse's nose towards the goalpost, and this person sort of will line up with his butt to the goalpost, maybe at a little bit of an angle, facing out with their mallet out there. You want your mallet out here, making sure that if the ball does go on the ground, you can get to it, right? You can get it. You're trying to block that. And if the ball's on the ground going into the goal, you can make a hook on the player who's defending. In lower goal polo, lower level polo, let me get the eraser up here. Oh, sorry. I'm going to hit this eraser, guys. Excuse me. In lower level polo, what's going to happen is this player here that I put over here, and sorry. Here we go. And lower level polo, this player here, what I would do is I'd actually have this player starting here. And the reason for that is that, and we'll get to it, is that when this player here who's hitting the ball in lower level polo, let's say it's a 1-goal, 0-goal player, is hitting the ball, the percentages of them actually making a penalty 4 are down. So most of the time, if they hit it, it'll be on the ground or a nice shot in there. It could be a nice, beautiful 60-yard shot, which they should be able to do, or even if it's a 40, 30-yard shot, because, again, a penalty shot is mental, okay? It's not physical. I'm going to explain that in a minute, and doing that because most people get all excited and they mishit their penalties because they're not, they don't take deep breaths, don't relax, and don't just go with the flow because there's all these players in front of them. And with that said, let me go ahead and make another color here. All right, let's say yellow. Perfect. And we'll go over here and we'll make this one. So if this is the offensive lineup, let's say the hitting the penalty shot, we'll go to the defensive. So in this one player you want to have here, doesn't matter who it is, between the ball and the goal, with their mallet facing the ball, okay? And the horse going sort of, if it's north-south here, the horse going east-west, okay? Another player you want to have is out here, and this is a mental player. I call him mental player because this is mentally telling this player who's hitting the ball, well, if you tap, I've got you, okay? So you're basically mentally trying to make this player hit it, make a lower percentage shot, which is hitting a penalty shot. All right, for the higher goal players, it's supposed to be higher. It's supposed to be pretty automatic, but for lower level players, it's supposed to be low percentage. All right, the other 2 players are in here, and what I like to do is as this player is coming around to hit that penalty shot, and they are going there. What I love to do is I like to tell my players to line up sort of sideways, sort of putting both horses blocking that whole goal. So the last thing they visually see before they put their head down to see that hit that ball is that the goal is totally blocked, so that they actually feel that they have to hit the ball over everybody here. So this player here, who's at the 30, is actually, a mental as well, but it's more of a physical too, because that ball has a little bit higher chance of hitting them than it does these people. And then as soon as this player puts his head down, his or her head down, these players can then adjust themselves to kind of maybe face forward towards that ball. Now, let me give you a couple of scenarios. This player hits the ball down to here, and I'm going to get a line here, guys. Again, let's see. So let me grab another color. All right, come over here. There we go. We got white. So this player hits this ball, and it goes like this. Okay, it goes here. Boom. Okay. So what this player's job is as this player is coming to hit this ball, and this player will time it so it's heading towards the goal. Most likely it's going to hit to the left post. As they see that ball rolling, they're going to come in like that. Okay. Now they got the next play. They're allowed to tap the ball into the goal and make a play there. This player here will end up staying on the goal there, and this player will move into the goal more. This player's job is to move over and get a little bit more to make sure if that player taps it again, they can get on that line. But the problem with this is these players are kind of dead. And this other player over here's job is to foresee that and come in and make a play. Okay. And that's what I'm talking about, the lower level polo, where a ball will go will go on the ground or do that. I tell people in this situation, the red team, they always say, should I dribble, should I hit? My whole theory and thing is put it down the pipe, man. You should just throw it down in there and do the best you can. That's why you practice. That's why you stick and ball. That's why you do. That's why penalty shots are so important. Is you put the ball down in the pipe. You hit it down there the best you can. And if your teammates are doing their jobs, because this player right here, can come out and fall on that line. Okay, another thing. So same thing if the ball goes over here, on this side. That's why I do that. This player can get on the line here too. All right, and make a back shot in or whatever. So I hope I'm not confusing two people in this first play, because I kind of got lost in a little thought here. But as you see it, I'm going to revert it real quick. Actually, let me erase it. Erase this here. Erasing. Oh. Anyways, the biggest thing about this is that on these plays, and that's why I kind of, everybody asks about strategy on penalty fours and different, penalty shots within the 60-yard line. My whole theory of this is that you are trying just basically get it down there and get it in the goal. Okay. So let's go back to the white. Let's go back to the paintbrush. There we go. All right. So again, as this player, let me just put this here real quick. Oops. Again, I'm sorry, guys, if I'm messing up on this technology here, but I'm.
It's all right, Charlie. We didn't hire you for your artistic ability.
That's right. So again, so if you are the hitter, okay, and knowing what you can do, it's like Clint Eastwood said, a man's going to know his own limitations. So you need to be able to know. You need to know what you can and can't do on this. What your average shot is. It's like when you play golf, you don't take out a 5-iron to hit what you would usually hit with a 3-iron. So it's the same idea here mentally. Is that okay? I know I can hit the 3s and the 2s and the 3s really well, but when I get to the 4s, it's most likely going to go 50 yards. Okay, well then your teammates need to know that. So then you're going to start placing the ball. Like I was saying before, you need to place the ball here. You need to place the ball here. You need to hit it to where your teammates can get on it and make a shot to goal. All that. And like I said, higher goal polo, it's pretty simple. Put it in the goal, right? Shoot it, make a penalty shot. Take your chances. These guys are here as safety valves, the red players, but that's about it. As far as the yellow goes, this player here is your defender. If the ball goes here, your player is the defender, but you have to watch this player here coming out. And same thing over here. If this ball comes over here, this is the defender who's going to go out, but you have to watch this red player over here, okay, on this side. So, like I said, pretty much there's not too much strategy on a penalty 4. It's just basically put it down the pike and try and hit it. And again, for the hitter, I would say as you're canning around, it's all mental. Okay, don't let everything in front of you mess you up. Look past the goal, see a spot you want to hit it to, and then just go up to it, look back at the ball, and hit it there. Besides that, I can't really give too much advice. The only other advice I would say is go home and practice, because these are, they're tough, but anybody can hit a penalty 4, and I've proven it and proven it and proven it. The guy who really proved it to me was Joe Barry. So he told me he could take anybody and hit a penalty 4, and he showed me one day. He took one of my buddies who wasn't a very good player and made him hit a perfect penalty 4. So, but anybody can hit him if they practice them correctly. So let's move on to
Before you
first of all,
do,
any questions on
yeah,
this?
before you do, Charlie, one question for you. Yesterday we were talking about what happens when the ball kind of dies in front of the goal, and the 2 reds on the outsides of the post actually taking the yellow men inside the post. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, if a lot of times what happens is when a ball, like you said, dies and it's coming in. I mean, if the ball comes here, let's say the ball does come here, what I would tell my players is that if the ball's dead there and I know this other red player over here, the number 4 or number 3, whoever is going to be coming down that line is going to do it, I'd actually ask my players to come in and take this yellow player, try and take them out. Same thing, and try and host these, hold these 2 players in here. Maybe this player come in. I know it's clouding the goal area, but if this player is smart enough, he can, come in and dribble in and then make a little half shot into the goal. Same thing if the ball gets down here and in here, these 2 players need to come in and make plays. And a lot of times you'll find in polo, and I've played every level of polo, and it's happened at every level, that there's probably a couple fouls going to happen in here. The umpires most likely are, a lot of times don't blow them because the fouls aren't dangerous and they're not that, the line's not exactly, it gets a little snake killing and it's not exactly visual to an umpire who's standing here and an umpire who's standing here. And with all the people in front there, they're kind of letting it go unless they see something really bad. Then they'll blow it. So, yes, these 2 players, when that ball comes down and they see that other players getting it, they need to come in here and make a little bit of a crash, or however you want to say it, but to get a hold of these 2 players here and get them out of that goal pool. Either try and push them away, open it up, do whatever they do, but hold them so that this player has a little one-on-one with somebody. Does that explain a little bit?
It does. We've got a couple questions.
Okay.
One question is, when you're standing in goal defending,
Yes.
do you swing at an incoming ball or just put your mallet down to stop it?
Hit it. I would say, don't try and kill it, but swing at it. It depends also. I mean, if the ball's bouncing, the ball's whatever, and if the ball's coming at you, I would just say take a nice slow swing at it and try and make connection. If you just put your mallet down there, a lot of times the ball will bounce off, bounce because it has momentum, right? So you have to counter the momentum coming at you, the momentum going towards it, right? Every action has an equal opposite reaction, right? Whatever they want to say. So if you have no momentum and you hit it, you just put it there, the ball either bounce off your cane, go in, bounce, it has to go somewhere. So hit the, nice slow swing towards it. You don't have to kill it. Just nice slow swing towards it. It's like when you're galloping down the field, you want to hit a bouncing ball. You don't stab at it, you hit through it. And it's the same idea. Just put your head down, watch that ball, and just connect with it.
Okay. And we have another question. Alexander, who's actually on the call from Chile, wants to know, are you still allowed to dribble penalty 4s in the U.S.?
Yes, you are, but you cannot. Once you start dribbling, you have to continue dribbling, which means that no time you take a full swing. You can take almost a half swing, but it's a dribble. Any time the umpire feels you've put the other players in danger with a hit, then they will blow the whistle. But you're not allowed to take a full swing after you dribble.
Okay, that's it
All
for
right.
now.
All
If
right,
anyone
good.
has any other questions for Charlie, feel free to type them in as we go along, and I'll pass them along.
Good. All right. So let's talk about a penalty five. There are a few strategies on penalty fives. I'm a speed freak, so I like to do things where you go a little faster and you make the other team a little bit nervous. But there's many different types of what I would say teams how they set up for offense and defense. We'll set the offense up here first. So I'm gonna there you go, and let's say that's the hitter. What I like to do is I like to have this here, maybe this about here, and then we'll put another one back here because we'll set it up for a little bit lower level. All right, so that's the red team. Let's just say they're going with the conventional 1, 2, 3, 4. And the reason I set them up here is that when this player hits the ball, I want these players. This isn't where they're going to be when he hits the ball. This is where they're going to start, or they're going to be they're going to be close, depending on what he's going to do. If it's a one-hit play, so this is where you get a lot of teams off. You can hopefully get a mismatch, hopefully get the ball to where one of your teammates can get a hold of it, and so I like to have the player start closer and then run towards goal, and you're going to go first player go, second player go, third player go, and everybody's basically running towards this left post if that's the play. If you're going to hit it down the pike, if you have a player here that can put it in this area here, within this area, anywhere from the 40-yard in, well, that's a 110-yard shot. So that's pretty good. Most of the time, players are going to be able to put it in here, okay? And that's anywhere that's like a 100-yard shot. If you have a 2-goal player can hit it down here pretty easily if they practice. If they again stick and ball, it's all about practice. It's all about what you can do. People don't practice penalty fives a lot. I used to sit with Eduardo Hagee, and this is what we used to practice: putting the ball from here to here. That was the whole idea. Put it in this area, past the 40. So that's what we used to do. But if you have a hitter that can hit it down here into this area, great. In this play, this is what I like to do, because most of the time, this is how conventional players will line up. They have a player who's going to go against the hitter, and then most of the people will kind of linger down here and wait. And because they have to be outside the 30, so they'll kind of linger depending on where they are. They'll probably look here, looking at that player. This player is waiting for this player here. This player is waiting for this player here. And if this player is smart, this player will wait sort of here for this player. What I want to happen here, I'm going to go back to we'll go white here. What I want to happen here is I want this player, let's say he can't get through and this player is actually good. Well, I want this player to draw this, oops, shoot. I messed up there.
That's all right. Command Z will do it.
Command Z?
Mm-hmm.
Do I have to click?
Nope.
No.
All right.
Command Z? No.
Should have, but it didn't. Sorry.
All right. That's all right. Let me just erase this. All right. All right. That's good enough for now. We'll go to here. What I want these players to do is, as this player is coming up to the ball here and getting ready to hit, they have to time it. It's all about timing. So if this player is smart, if the yellow player is smart and is there, the red player's job is to get by them, get by this player. Okay. So either A, if they find the first couple times or the first time they can't get by him and they try and get down here and that yellow gets a hold of them and pushes them out here or keeps them to that side, and runs down there. So when the ball is hit, this yellow player can get the back shot, or it gets there, just really can't. That's a mismatch. What I would tell this red player is to run to this side. And what that does is that yellow player would go with them, and it puts the yellow player on the offside, on the near side. Lesser percentage play, which would allow, if everything all works out, allowing for this player who should be able to get down here, okay, with the idea that this ball is being hit down to here, right? Let's just say there, right? Get down there. And then this player, same thing. Depending on what this yellow player does in that motion, if you're in motion, you can most likely get past him. But if you have to come here, so I hope you guys see what's happening here. If you have to make that sacrifice and go there, then what have I just done? I've actually allowed my number 2 player here to be the one who's going to be going to that ball. Does everybody understand that? I mean, please chime in if I'm not making sense here. Okay, if you don't,
I will.
It's in there.
Yep.
It's what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get this team, this red team, to get one player who's going to make the next play. Okay, and it's all about sacrifice. Now, if depending on how this yellow team lines up is how you're going to do it. You have to understand the team you're playing against. So if you've never played against this team, never seen a video of them, you're going to do just one down the pike and see how they line up. So, but if I'm this player, the number 3, I'm basically saying, okay, this player's lined up to where I have to take them with me, get them on my hip, and my next play is going to be the near side. This player sees this player here, I can get them on my hip, and I'm going to the offside. And the number 1 moving is going to take this player somewhere out of the play. Basically, you're trying to open up this hole for my other 2 players to go down there. Now, if this player if the red player, number 4, can get it down in there into the 40s and 30s, well, this number 1's job is to start running and try and get to there, pushing the play and making pressure on whoever's back there if they are going to be able to get to a back shot and putting the pressure on them so that their back shot's not great.
Sorry, Charlie. So let me just see if I got this, and I can summarize for everybody else if I got it right. So Dale Smiklis always talks about how polo's a lot like basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And in basketball, it's all about getting your, the playmaker open to be able to make a shot.
Yep.
So as I understood what you just said there, that 1 is going to take his opponent if he can't get by him to the far right, so he's out of the play. The 3 is going to take his guy far right, so he's out of the play. So that they have basically opened the field up for the number 2 to be able to jump on that line and take that shot. So it's all about getting somebody a good play, and you're thinking about that in advance, which is what's unique.
Yeah, you're the whole team. Sorry, and I guess I'm going a little fast on this, but on every set play we're going to talk about is that on offense, your job, the whole team's job is to get the ball to somebody, whoever that is. And if you always want to try and find that mismatch, that's the best play you can do. You get a 3-goaler with a 0. You get a 5-goaler with a 2. You get something like that. Even if it's 2 equal players, but you get a player who's on a slow, a fast horse against somebody on a slow horse, or somebody's on a fresh horse on a tired horse. Those little mismatches win games because if we all know, if everybody knows that, okay, there's a one-on-one right here with their number 2 against their number 3, we know that number 2 is 9 times out of 10 going to get past that number 3. That's great. Now another thing we can do is, because let's say these players are all pretty tightened up on everybody, right? And they see it. Well, we still send the number 1 down here. We still send the number 2 down here, and you do a keeper where this number 3 slides over here and creates a little bit of a block right here. Now, what's going to happen is 9 times out of 10, until it might work once, it might work twice. I've seen it work 3 times against a team. This player right here will end up going with the red player over to here, and by that time it's too late because our red player, this red player here, is going to be heading left with the ball. And by the time, if these players, these other red players do their job, like this red player is going to come here, this red player is going to come here, right? Like we just talked about. We're actually going to head that way with this yellow player. This red player is heading over here. Sorry, this yellow player is going over, so he's actually taking 2 out. And then this player has to be able to come in and run like this and keep that yellow player on his right side. So now this whole area over here is wide open for this red player to run down, and he's going to get 1, maybe 2 shots before he has to make a shot on goal. That's a little bit of a fast break play. Okay? Let me revert this real quick.
But none of this happens magically, and that's sort of the key you were referring to earlier. This all has to be planned in advance. So how do people know what play is going to take place?
Well, the biggest thing is I'll tell you about one gentleman who's probably one of the winningest. He's won more U.S. Opens than anybody in history. He's done everything. Was Memo Garcia. Memo Garcia was a great polo player. Let's put it that way. He was 10 goals, but he was 15 goals in strategy. And because everything from what players were going to be on the field, he picked players way ahead of time, knowing their abilities and how they brought a team together, to the horses each player was going to play prior to the game. I mean, when I played for him, we knew, man, it was amazing. You knew what horses were going to what's everybody. Up to he would be changing it daily on oh, that horse not going well for that person, this horse is better for that person, blah blah blah, to the set plays, and you would have to know. And we had team meeting after team meeting after team meeting. So that it's sort of like any sport. If you ever watch a football team, they'll do 43 dive 20 times so that everybody understands their assignments. How they block and how they do everything. So it's the same thing here. You have to talk about it. Now, the average polo in America, people don't have time to show up and practice and do this and spend 6 hours a day doing it. But they do have time to show up an hour before a game and sit down with a whiteboard and talk about it. Make sure everybody is on the same page, so that when one of these plays happens, they can just all they have to have is in lower level polo 1 or 2 plays, 1 or 2 set plays on this on this penalty 5, where they all you have time on a penalty 5. They throw the ball down, the umpire's teeing up. You have time. Hey guys, let's do number 2. Okay, great. And we all know we're going to run up and do number 2 now. Sounds corny, but it works. Same thing. Let's try number 1. And in lower level polo, most teams, the other team won't know how to react. It'll take them time to react. Even in high goal polo, it takes time for teams to react. To your changes or to your plays, or tend to actually understand what you're trying to do, and doing that. So like on this penalty 5 again, if we go back to what we were talking about before, and where we have the reds lining up here, I'm going to show you another one that I kind of like doing, but where everybody's sort of lining up back here, and I'm just going to show you what they do. Is just, you line it up back here. Let's say this is where the 30-yard marker is right here. I'm just going to put that where somebody's 30 yards. This confuses the heck out of most teams because they can't go mark their players. What happens in most polo is a player will sit out here, right? As this red player's cannon around, they'll sit out here and allow somebody to get up on them, get up and touch them, get up and do that. Well, now you're fighting a losing battle, because now somebody has a hold of you. This right here, you should be, when that player's coming up to hit this ball, when this player is coming up to hit this ball back here, you should be breaking to where you think that ball is going, or breaking to where you're going to go cover someone, or breaking to do that, because that way the other team who's defending against you doesn't have time to react. You get that fast break. Remember I was talking about the transitions earlier, the transition from offense to defense, or the transition from getting a player, not getting a player. That is what wins games. Okay, so we have to think about that. How do we get the other team off balance offensively, defensively or offensively, and it's all mental. So if they see you here, well then they're all going to try and line up and trying to cover their guys, and if what can happen a lot of times is in this play right here, let me change colors here. So besides the player covering the person hitting who's over here, okay, besides that person, the other three have to line up pretty much here, right, to kind of cover their and cover their players. I mean, if you're saying, okay, I've got to get these people when they come out, right, unless they go to a zone. Now that's a defensive side. I'm going to go to a defense in a few seconds, but you know, they're all trying to cover their players. They're going to be here in most polo because people aren't going to, you know, in most levels like I was talking about, don't talk, don't do anything. They're going to say, hey, there's no captain on the team. Say, all right, let's go to a zone. Okay, that's what we're going to talk about on the defensive side. But on the offensive side, you'll confuse the heck out of people in most polo if you start here. And as this player goes, you know, the players here will talk, say, okay, number one, take off, right? And number one takes off. Okay, number one, you know, takes off and wherever he or she's heading off to, and they'll know. And the number one's job is to just try and get down there free, because if everybody's lined up here and this player can hit the ball, it's all about timing. So if this player can somehow, you know, get through here and get going, and that's going to break off what this player is going with him, right? And then this player coming over here, same thing, and the same thing here. If you get a fast break here, especially if this number one can beat this player, you can get a goal scored. Okay. If not, then it's up to number two. Or if you do this now, let's say you do this one time, it doesn't work. They're smart about it. All of a sudden they go, okay, we know what's going to happen, and they start moving down the field a little bit. Well, that's when you come back to the play where, okay, this, you know, your player's second or third player comes over and makes a break, makes a block, while these players come down and block down here. Your number four, whoever it is taking the ball left. You change it up on them. Okay, that's all I'm trying to say, is that you know what kind of play you want to make, you know what the play is going to be, you know everybody's ability, and then you adapt to what the defensive shows you. Okay, does that make sense to you, Kim?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's what it's about. It's all about the mental game here of getting these people to question their game plan. All right. So let's just go back to real quick. I'm going to revert this. I'm going to show you some defensive sides to this, because and to stop them in their tracks. Okay. And this is what I like to do. Wait. Oh, let me get this. Let's get the red player here. Let's get the red player here. Red player here. Another red player here. What I tell my players, let's say they're going to be yellow, is this player's job right here as a defender is to make this player hit the ball. Because when this player hits the ball, and it's not tapping it, now it's out of his control. Now, if my teammates, the yellow teammates, do their job, we should be able to get this ball. Okay. These two players that are here, the other three, I should say, they're going to be playing a little bit of a zone. Okay, they're going to be man to man, but we're not gonna follow a man to a man. Okay, we got to know what they're going to do. If you this player right here, who's waiting for this player, you'll have another player here waiting for this player, and then your number four. I like to be within the back here. If I'm playing four, I like actually being back here, facing the play a little bit. And what that does, that allows me to see what's happening and be able to tell everybody what's going on. It's also this person's job over here to tell everybody what's going on as well. You know, if they can read this player pretty well by the way their stroke is going to be. Before they hit the ball, they can say, you know, left or right, because they'll be able to see that. Especially as soon as it takes off, you can tell where it's going to go. So, and then this player, same thing, yelling at his teammates left or right. And this becomes, these two players are really playing man up, and this player is playing a little bit of zone, and this player is playing man up. I say that the number 4 should play a little bit of a zone, because if the ball, let me get this, because he's the last defense between the ball and the goal. So if the ball comes here like this, right, these players have to hold their players and get over there. If the ball comes straight down the field, these players should be able to make a play on it. If the ball comes over here, keep going with that, these players should be able to make a play on it. And this player's job is to be between, for me, is to be between the goal, the ball, and the goal at all times. Okay? Now, what they'll find if they get smart, this player is very smart, and these guys are smart, they'll be able to take these two players out, leave this player flat-footed, and get it to this player, right? If that happens, then you change your game plan. Then you really tighten up on this, you tighten up on this, and then this player has to come in and tighten up. But in the beginning, most of the time, this player will hit the ball, will try and hit the ball down the pike and do that. If this player dribbles, it is up to this player right here to make his life miserable. It's up to that player to stop him, because here comes the mental side. If this player, this yellow player, let's say this red player decides to dribble the ball, decides to run with the ball, decides to do anything, this player has to be so ready and so on cue that if it happens, they have to stop him the first time. And this is when you talk about my coaching. This is where I tell players, because mentally, if you stop that player, this player right here, the first time he tries to take off with the ball, tries to dribble the ball, he tries to do anything, they won't do it again. Because mentally you've frustrated, you've dominated them. And then you want them, then you're telling them, and each time you look at them, when they look at you, you're telling them, bring it on. I want it. I want you to bring it on. Because then you can stop them. So now what you do is you've taken one of their arsenal away, okay, for this player. Now his arsenal is to hit it. And once you have that, now you know what the number 4 is going to do with the ball. Now that's how you dominate these other 3 players with this strategy, or with another strategy going man-to-man, or however you want to do it. But the biggest thing is making this player hit the ball. Okay? Now, if this player comes over to take here, and this is where I talk about that, being able to make that transition, they have to say switch. You guys, here's where the play comes. You have to say switch. That means now this player is in charge of this player. Okay? That's what that means. Because the only reason this player is coming over here is so that this player can run with the ball. Right? So that's where these two players have to be keen on what's happening. Okay? And that's why you're going to let this player go so the 4 can have him. This player has this player. This player has this player. All right? Does that explain that, Kim?
Yep. And you got a question, Charlie, from Christina. She says, then is 4 meeting stick to stick then when on defense?
Yeah, 4 is facing the play here. 4 is definitely facing the play, because you have to be able to face the play to see what's happening. That's why I would have this yellow number 4 back here a little bit farther in the play, because I want them to face the play. Okay? I mean, this is, when I'm number 3, I'll have my other players man up with these other players and leaving this player alone for me. I will be here. Okay? That's where I will come back to the 30 and watch the play, because I can get to any play from here personally. I mean, that's the way I feel. So yes, you're facing the play. And I always like to be, I'm in the center here, but it also depends on your ability, where you are and how you want to do that. Okay? What's your horse's ability too? I ride nice horses, so I can kind of get anywhere I want to get to. But if you're on a more difficult horse or whatever, you might actually want to man up then. Just remember, and that brings in that play, is that on these players, when you're manning up against players, you have to know your opponents within the first minute. If you've never played against them, you have to see what kind of horses are on, what kind of players are, get some information on them. know who's on the better horses. You don't want this yellow player on a slow horse going up against this red player who's on a fast horse. You don't want it. They'll get beat every time. This ball will go down and get thrown down your throat. Same thing with this player. You have to understand that. You have to see, the ability and the horse flesh that the team you're playing against has. And you can tell that within a minute. You can watch how they can. They go to the first ball, you'll see. And you also see what they can do and whatever. But knowing your horse flesh and knowing their horse flesh is very important.
Okay, great.
Any other questions?
Not so far.
Okay. And we can come back to that in the question and answer if people want to. Let's go back to revert. Now, here's what I want to go over a lot. This is like I was saying, you can come up with those penalty 4s and penalty 5s are pretty straightforward. There's only a few things you can do. Knock-ins are a whole nother ball game. Because knock-ins to me is a little bit more of a defensive play until you get across midfield. You're really trying to get it away from your goal, so you really have to be on your game here. And because your whole goal the whole goal for the knock-in is first goal is to get it past midfield to get into your offensive side, but the ultimate goal is to get it down to the other goal. But just because you have the ball doesn't mean it's offensive. So this is where strategy really comes in. More goals are scored on a screwed up knock-in, or a screwed up play or a screwed up set play than anything, because people get that fast break, they get that quick turnaround, and they get by themselves. So I'm going to line up some things, and I'm gonna people kind of get to this. People at first go, well, why do you do this? And I'm gonna show you why. What I like my teammates to do, and this even happened yesterday. When most of our knock-ins got in past midfield, and we had one yesterday, but everybody asked, man, you guys have great knock-ins. Well, what I like to do is I like to have my teammates line up over here, okay? And I'm kind of putting them there a little close because this is more of a lower level. And even in high goal, this is what we do too. This is what I like doing in high goal as well. And the reason I like lining up my teammates here, let's say I'm 4 and 3 and 2 and 1, is because I'm trying to get this area open for my knock-in, okay? And I'm not taking it myself. I'm trying to get it to my teammates. So with that happening, what's going to happen is if my teammates lined up over there, what does the yellow team have to do? Well, they're going to put one person on me, of course, who's knocking in, let's say, on the 30 here. And then they're going to bring everybody over here to mark up, because what they don't want to happen is they don't want to have anybody run down this side of the field. Right, run down that left side of the field. Because if they line up too far over here, what's going to happen? We're going to run down the left side. So they've got to push over there. So what that means, with that said, what I have my teammates do is let's say this is my number 1. What I like them to do is they go to where they know where I'm going to hit the ball. Because if my first tap shot is going to be here, right? And let's talk about that for a second. If I'm tapping the ball in and that player's covering me, why would I put the first ball there? The reason I put the first ball there is because I make this player flat-footed. They can't go anywhere, right? It allows me to now take my time, and I should be able to take my time on knock-in, because whoever's knocking in, remember this, you control the game. You don't have one worry in the world about hurrying up, right? There's no worry. You take your time, take a nice big circle, take a deep breath, understand what you're going to do, right? Okay. Then my next shot, if all goes well and I want to do it, is going to want to be out here somewhere. Somewhere out here. Somewhere out here, right? And I'm going to show you why. Okay. So my number 1 is going to take off and break like this. I'm going going to take off and break like this. Now you can break like that, depending on who's knocking in, right? You can break like that, but I kind of want them breaking like this, okay? Number 2, same thing. I want them breaking like this. I think you guys can already see what's happening here. And my number 3, breaking just like this, just on the other side of this player. Okay? All right? Now, as you can see there, what I've lined up is not only are they all heading the right direction, they're all heading down there, because if all goes well, what allows me as a number 4 knocking in, allows me to be able to place a ball here, to be able to place a ball here, and to be able to place a ball here, and anybody getting on that line, right? Okay. So the idea of here is, let's think 2 plays down. I'm knocking in, the ball goes here, and if this player who's here is then starts heading downfield, this player starts heading downfield. Well, let's get this, doing this, right? Starts heading downfield, and this player comes to this ball, right? And his or her next shot is down here. Look what happens. This player gets on the line. This player is going for that even next pass. Okay. Now, let's back this up. I guess I'll revert it real quick. Probably easier. First of all, are there any questions coming about this yet?
Nope.
Okay.
If anyone has any questions, feel free to type them in, and I'll give them to Charlie.
Before I revert it, and see what happens is these players here, up here, these red players, are sort of hesitating. They're not taking off before this player gets this ball. This player, it's all about timing. And what you're doing is as this player is coming up, taps it up there, you have to time it so that when they're hitting that second shot, this red player is here, red player is about here, and a red player is about here. Okay? Because this number 4 is hitting it to where you're going to go to, right? So you're not leaving early. You're not here when he hits that second shot, right? And you're not here when he hits the second shot, okay? You're about right here, okay? He or she hits that shot. You understand that? And now, so from here to here within this area, if this player is covering, right here, well, let's see something here. Oh, cancel. That's what I'm trying to do. If this player here is trying to cover this player, and this player is trying to cover this player, right? And this player is trying to cover this player, you have this area right here is your area to be able to beat this player, right? Get the jump on that player. Okay? So how do I do that? Well, I do that by not lining up next to them. I line up back there. And if they come to me, I'm moving. I'm moving away, knowing that I have to break sometime. And the more I pull them away, the better it is for me. If I can get this yellow player to follow me over here into the corner, well, they can't because that's at 30 yards. I have more of a chance to do that, right? To break away from them. Now, I'll tell you a little secret about something here. If I'm going against this player right here, right? If I'm the red player going against this player right here, another great way of getting them, and they're going to stand here because they're outside the 30. They got to wait for me. A great way to get them to stand still and be able to beat them, run straight at them, right? Like this, and then break. Okay? Well, run straight at them and then break. Because what happens is they have to react to you, not anticipate what you're going to do, right? So the same thing with this player. You run straight at them, and then when you get there, what they're going to end up doing is they're going to move forward. And when they do that, you're going to be breaking like this, right? And now they're on a chase. They're after you. Same thing with the player over here. Run straight at them, and break again. So these are just little strategies, one-on-one strategies that you can use to get away from your player. All right? But the reason I want to break on this side of this player here, right, is that if I come on this side, I get in the way, I foul, I do whatever against her, unless I'm coming in to hold this player for my other teammate. But that, in most polo, really doesn't work. I don't like that play. too much. I'd rather have a real little go here. You can break right on the side, get a short pass. You can break there, break there, break there. All right. The idea is getting to this. Now, let's go to. Let me just revert this real quick, and I'm going to show you what happens here. It opens up another play. Okay. All right. Let's get to this real quick. I have to say it's really hard not having feedback, immediate feedback. I don't know if I should stop. I don't know if I should keep going. So now we line up the same way, right? We're here, we're here, we're here. All right, let's just say we're here, right? What does this yellow team do after you do this a couple times and you beat them? What they start doing is, well, this player is going to most likely stay here like this.
By the way, Charlie, Christina
yes.
says you're doing awesome.
Well, thank you, Christina. I'll pay you later. Here we go. Well, what happens is this yellow team, they start saying, well, we're not going to keep getting beat, so we're going to wait for these guys over here. Well, I'm going to wait here in the middle of the field for them. Screw that. I'm not going to, I'm going to wait here, and I'm going to wait here, right? Well, what happens is this is where your team has to know this. This is where you talk real quick. You say, if somebody sees this, especially the number 4 sees this, as the number 4 is canning around back here to come up for the, taking her time, see what's going to happen, blah, 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 and they go, hey, let's do a number 2. Well, what's number 2? Well, number 2 is this. Number 2 is, where, let's do a number 2. What's number 2? Okay, number 2 is these two still break like this, right? But they're actually coming over here to block, all right? They come over here, and they're going to block whoever they're going to do. And the first shot's a one-shot thing, boom, like that. Because now they're going to be in a chase. I don't care what horse you're on. If you can block this person has to run pretty darn hard to go get that player, okay? And then once that happens, this 4 is going to follow behind, and then these players will fall in behind them, okay? So you see how that's a mental thing. We're getting the defense to be frustrated mentally, okay? And that's the whole thing I was talking about before, is we're trying to keep them off balance mentally, all right? And that's what you want to do in all sets of polo. And you can mess around with these plays on how you want to do it. You can take, if you want to. I've seen players where this red player will just come up, canter up here, and start up here. I mean, I've done it myself. This player here, this red player, will, let's go back to this. We'll start up here, just to draw that yellow player back to here. Okay, this yellow player right here will have to come up and hang out with them up here, right? Okay, and just because that's their mental state. Oh, I've got to be with that man. I'm not going to let that player go. All right, but in lower goal polo, what we just talked about will work all the time. Now, let's say you have a player. Let's say you're in, it's a lot of zeros. Well, what I would do. Somebody had asked me this before too, and I should have brought this up. Let's say you have 4 zeros playing together. Okay, well, the same thing can happen instead of let me do this. Same thing can happen. Same sort of set play will happen, but instead of the put this back. I'm getting pretty good at this. So let's get these red players lined up here. All right. So let's get the yellow players lined up. So let's say everybody lines up like they're supposed to on the yellow team, and they're over here waiting for their players like this. Well, when this red player here takes off with the ball, and these players take off like this, right? I would change this up, and I hope you guys can see what I'm doing here. And this player takes off like this. What this player does, this is a follower. This player comes in and follows up and comes behind. because what'll happen is it's just taking the percentages of this player. Let's say it's, like I said, 4-0 goal players playing together, going up there. It just gives a release valve. It just gives it, if something happens and they miss that ball, well, there's a second chance to it. The player behind's covering, okay, and that's a good play to do that. But these players here, have to go out for the passes. They have to be there. Now they might not be going way out here for the pass. They might be coming in here for the pass. Okay, for the next pass might be going here. Okay, and same thing with this player. Coming up like that. Now once you get out here, then it becomes that sort of, I like the wagon wheel and like an arena. If you're first player, coming back behind. Lower level polo, if you miss the ball, turning left, coming back behind, coming back behind, coming back behind. Just keeping that line going down, keeping that train going. First player who misses, come back behind, come back behind. But if you're playing, 6-goal polo, 8-goal polo, 12-goal polo, or higher, and you have a player on your team that's 2 goals, 3 goals, 4 goals, well, this that player is going to be pushing you forward and going to be hitting the balls farther. So this coming behind won't need to happen. Now, another play that you can add to your arsenal, if you would like to, is the leave it and go. And that happens here, where this player will come behind, this player will tap it once, and then their next play is to run up here and try and get past this player, get them to, hopefully get this person standing still and get them, thinking that he's going to hit it, and they get a little complacent and kind of hang out and go, okay, I know this person's going to hit it. I know the number 4 is going to hit it, so all I got to do is just wait, and then once he comes at a hand canter, I'll pick him up. Well, by following, having another player follow, this player, number 4, has the option to run with the ball or has the option to leave it and go. And I've used this a lot, the leave it and go, where you leave it and take off, and I get past this player, and then the next nice little pass is to me here, and then I'm off to the races. Okay. So that's another thing to your arsenal on the knock-ins. But the biggest thing is to get the teams defending against you off balance. Get them not knowing what you're going to do. And every time that they change, if they cheat, like I was saying, cheating, coming over here, thinking they know what you're going to do, you change it back. What's going to happen if I go one time left? Oh my God, all of them come back over. They go, well, we don't want that to happen again. We just got our, jock handed to us. We need to get back on man. All right. Now let's talk a little bit. Let's see if is there any questions about the offense?
There's a couple questions actually. So one question Alexander says, so knocking in against the boards, are you not using an extra shot towards the offensive goal? Meaning when you were going right there and you tapped right and then hit.
Yeah.
He says, are you not using an extra shot?
I don't care if it takes 20 shots to get the goal, as long as we keep control of the ball. That's the biggest thing. Is that, yeah, in a perfect world, I mean, you're talking about if you hit it here and then 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 hit it here.
Yeah, I think as opposed to maybe going straight or straight down the field.
Straight up the field. Maybe. Well, the problem with straight up the field is if I hit this ball straight up the field, who's going to get there first? Yellow, right? And my whole thing, the whole strategy here is trying to. Then I really have to bust my butt if I'm a red player to get past them. Now, if these yellow, like I was saying, if the yellow players start heading over here too soon, and you guys see, and your teammates see that, and you can, and these players take off, then like I said, this other red player can either go here, can go here, wherever this number 4 and this player thinks they can get the ball. And I understand what he's saying, but the biggest thing is that on this play, you don't want to lose control of the ball. I want the ball, if I'm the red team, I want a yellow player on my left and the ball on my right. And how do I get that done? I get that done by getting over here in this area, getting past them and getting them to my left. If I can get the ball, or I want the yellow player behind me, chasing me. So if I can get it up here, sure, that's great. the better, the most, I would say the most effective way to keep control of the ball is to keep the players on your left and keep the ball on your right.
Okay.
That's answers that.
Okay. He says, got it. Thanks. And then another question says, I've been told by some players when knocking in to never cross goal. I've
Okay.
also been told to always go right, even when I'm to the left of the goal. Which is it?
Okay. So yeah, you always. I mean, okay. So here's the thing: is it depends on the reason they say don't go across goal is because if you're a low handicap player, the percentages of because it's a mental. Okay, like a knock in is as mental as a penalty 2 and penalty 3. Why do people, let's just back up a second, why do people miss penalty 2s and penalty 3s? You go out and stick a ball, and I guarantee you can hit a 40-yard shot every single time you hit the ball, right? And you most of the time can hit to where you want to. Why do people, 9 goalers, 10 goalers, miss penalty 4, penalty 3s and penalty 2s? Mental. It's all mental. There's nothing about it. They get too excited, their heart's going, their adrenaline, blah, blah, blah. They don't take a deep breath. So the reason they tell you to go, some people old school or people say, or the conservative players go left, is because they don't want you to miss the ball in front of goal here so that this yellow player can come in and take it, right? And that's why I say in lower level polo, if you have 4 zeros on the field, there should be somebody behind you, coming in behind when you take this player. So the reason you go to the right, and the reason I tap the ball to the right, is so that I keep this left player, this yellow player, to my left, and I stand still, and then I get my next shot. If I were to hit it to the left here, this yellow player is going to be putting pressure on me, and that puts pressure on me to make the next play. I kind of have to run. Or make a quick hit here, right? And that's the reason we go right. That's the real, like I just explained to Alex or from Chile, is that going right keeps the players to your left and keeps the ball to your right, and that's what you want. That's the best scenario you can keep. So, knowing your ability and knowing that, but know that if you do go right, your job is to make sure. That's why I say it's a defensive play. You're blowing it out of this goal area. You're trying to get it up here and across midfield, because this is offense. Even though you guys have control of the ball, this is offense. You're still in your defensive area. Okay.
Okay. No more questions.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about defense. Okay. And there's one rule that I go with everybody on my teams. I say stay between the ball and the goal, between your player and the goal, no matter where you're on the field. Okay, you stay between the goal you're defending and the player. Okay, and the reason I say that is because and I think Eric said it last week. I got in on this, and it's exactly what we all talk about. Even if the red team here, even if the red team here does their job, right? Does their job, and they beat the yellow team on this knock-in. If the yellow team, who is here, right? And I'm gonna do this like this. I would say that if this red team does make it down here to this area, but the yellow team keeps their positioning between them and this goal over here, okay, and just forces them down in this corner, they've taken the percentage all the way down. But if they've done it up here, if they're forcing them to this side, they force them to the boards, right? Now they've done their job there, but they've kept them from going downfield. And so talking about this real quick, so my whole thing is when a player's knocking in, okay, let's do this real quick. If a player's knocking in and they tap this, whoops, I forgot to go to the other thing. All right, player's knocking in, and they bring the ball out here, right? This yellow player's job is to move in and make sure that that player hits the ball, right? Boom, hits it to where we want it. Where if I'm a yellow player, where do I want them to hit it? I want them to hit it in this area, right? So I'm going to place my horse between, I mean, like this, right? Let's just say I'm trying to get that there. But so now if my horse is there, if they hit it anywhere here, it might hit my horse, right? So my percentages, I'm trying to get them to hit the ball here, okay? I'm placing myself between them and the goal, right? If this player takes off, right, and heads like this, that's okay. I'm, if I'm this player, that's fine. Let him go there, right? But as they're coming, I'm moving, and I am sitting right here, okay? When they come up, I'm taking them. And then once I get a hold of them, I'm taking them this way, right? That's great. This player, let them come inside here. I'm still, and if I'm this other yellow player, let them go there. That's fine. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take them, I'm going to, pick them up. I'll be moving. I'm going to pick them up, and then I'm going to force them this way, right? Same thing with this player. I want to do that. Now, why? And the other reason is, same thing here. I'm going to be here, this yellow player. I'm the number 4 back there covering. I want this player. I want to force them this way. So that's the reason I want to be on their. A lot of people say, "Oh, be on their 6 side." No, I want to be on this side of them, right here, because 2 things. One, I'm forcing them. I'm staying between them and the goal, and I can see them and the ball. Okay, I can watch the whole play. Okay, I can see what's happening. I'm looking through them to the ball. That's where you always want to be. If they take off that way, same thing. I want to be between. I want to be between them and the goal and watching the ball. Because I don't have to keep my head on a swivel. I can also be making contact with them here and seeing the whole play. I can, that's the biggest thing. Forcing them, I'm trying to force them over here to this no man's land, okay? Even if this guy can almost beat me and he gets down like this, fine. I'm going to force him over the boards. My whole thing is, I remember my dad telling me, take him over and have a Coke with him in the stands. That was my job, whoever I was against. Sometimes they put me on a higher rated player. I could outride him. Maybe I could not hit him, but I could, go take them and take them away. Same thing over here. And I remember Eric talking about this. There's this. Hang on. There's this area here, and I'm trying to do it as fast as I can. But this is the area you don't want them to get to, right? So everything you'd have to do defensively, let them go down in here. Let them go down in here. But we want to own this whole area right here, okay? And let them come down in here, and let them come down in here. But don't let them get the ball in here, because then the percentage of them making a goal goes. So how do I do that? I stay between them and the goal, always. If they stop here and then go back this way, well, I don't turn with them. I turn away from them, and then I meet them back over here. And as they trying to go back up, I block their butt right here, okay? I don't let them go. They turn around, they try and get away from me. Well, I don't turn with them, I turn away from them, and I come back and meet them here. I can do that all day long, okay? All right? So my job, or our job, the yellow team's job, is to frustrate them. As much as they're trying to frustrate us on this, we do that. Now, if we can make them, if we can make the back shot, if everybody does their job, if this yellow person takes their job and makes them hit it into this area, and these people do their job, and this person does their job, yellow player does their job, and this yellow player does their job, well, hopefully either A, we make them make a mistake, hit it over the boards, or we make a back shot, we throw it down their throat again. Keep throwing it down their throat, keep throwing it down their throat. If they knock in 5 times and we don't let them get past midfield 5 times, we frustrate the heck out of them mentally. Pretty soon people start fighting, they get blah, blah, blah. You know how frustrated people are. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to beat them mentally, okay, as well as physically. But the whole thing about it is if you beat them this way, you stop their plays. You stop what they do. They start trying to change their game plans. When they start changing game plans, they get frustrated. When they start getting frustrated, they're lost. It's the team who keeps their cool, keeps their game plan, wins games in polo. Any
Great.
questions?
We don't have any questions right at the moment, so I will open it up. You're about at the end of your prepared material here, Charlie?
I'm pretty done.
Okay, so you guys, this is Q&A. I know you've been asking questions along the way, but we've got about a little less than 15 minutes. left on the call, and so we'll spend the remainder of the time taking your questions. So Stephanie says, Charlie, my dad said the same to me. Have a Coke, have a conversation. My only job sometimes was to neutralize the other team's player. Being a girl and a lower rated player made it even more fun. Many players don't understand the importance of that role.
Yeah, sacrifice in polo is like any sport. I mean, sometimes you have to sacrifice your the hitting to by taking a man or a woman, taking the other player. And if you're a lower rated player, I hate, and I'll put it this way, and I hate playing against women in a lot of ways. The main reason is because women are more disciplined than men in a lot of ways. And a lot of women I played against, we're talking about Sunny Hale thing is, I mean, Sunny Hale, thinks like a 10-goal player when she's on the field, but she's so disciplined. She is so disciplined. When she's taking a man, she can take any man in polo. There's no question. She's so disciplined. When she was 5 goals, she could take any 10-goal player because she was disciplined. And most women I play against are so disciplined. They say, go take Charlie, and they bug the heck out of you. To stay on top of you, boom, to take him out. And believe it or not, it doesn't matter if they're -1 or they're 1 or 2 goals. Because of the discipline, they bug me and they take me off my game. And that's what you want. Now all of a sudden, if you have a 0-goal player or 1-goal player taking me and bugging me, now all of a sudden, let's say you're playing an 8-goal game, now there's 3 against 7. So if it's a 1-goal player, that's a big difference. Now you can really get those mismatches. The 5-goaler on the other team is playing against playing against somebody else. And I'm not talking about for everything. I'm talking about for a split second. It doesn't have to be that you're taking me out and having a Coke. All you have to do is bug me for a split second. And that's Stephanie is a great point. It's just you try your best against a player. You're not going to beat me all the time, but if you beat me for 1 or 2 plays, that may be 1 or 2 goals.
Yeah, and just a quick plug for Polo Skills Network here. For those of you who haven't seen it, there's an excellent video by Jeff Blake on getting inside position, and he also talks about that, about making even a higher rated player go through you or go somewhere that they don't want to go, and you can frustrate them. Then you've just made a couple goal swing for, even if it's just for that split second. So
Jeff's one of those players. Yeah, Jeff's one of those players that frustrates people. He'd frustrate anybody on the polo field. He's a heck of an athlete. He'd have a hell of a polo player, and he is disciplined. He is one of the most disciplined polo players out there.
Okay, Vincent says many times you have 0-goaler defending against a 4-goaler knocking in. What can 0-goaler do to help his team?
Well, I don't agree with that strategy. I'll take, when they're like yesterday, we played against some players, and I took there's a 5-goaler knocking. I went up. I was number 3. I went up to take that player. I believe in keeping, matching player up to player. But if you are, your job is, the main thing is you're not going to remember on a knock-in, the player who's here, this yellow player going against this red player on the knock-in. Your job, you'll never take the ball. You're not going after the ball. Your whole job is to make them hit it and make them hit it where you want them to hit it. Now, if you're a 0-goaler against a 4-goaler, the 4-goaler mentally is going to think, well, I can kick his butt, on those knock-ins. I can run by them. So what do you look at? Okay, your job is to watch. Don't get beat. And how don't you get beat? Well, you watch the player's left hand. If you watch that player's left hand, that's going to tell you exactly what they're going to do. It's sort of like in basketball when you watch somebody's, middle torso. They're going to tell you, their hips. They're going to tell you where they're going to go before they go, right? Same thing. If you're next to a player, you're trying to bump them, you're trying to take them, make them, watch what they're going to do. Don't get beat, okay? That's all I can say is that, try and just stay with them, okay? Make them run. Even a 4-goaler, the faster they run, the lower percentage of them keeping the ball is. Okay, and the other thing is what you can do is once they knock in, you see them. Let's say they knock in here, right? They hit the ball here. Just canter forward and get over here. Get your body over here, okay? And not make a play. You can't ever make a play, but let them. And then they have to either hit it or run with it. You see what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Because then you're over here, because then you can make the next play on them. All right, but you got to be quick about it. You got to be very quick about that so that you don't. If the ball's up here, don't do it. But if they tap it back here, just run forward. Make them get over on the near side. Make them, know, okay, if I run with it, he's going to try and hook me or do whatever. don't start too far left because they'll just beat you to the. I mean, they'll beat you over here. Okay. Remember, you got to play the first play. Make them hit it here, and then once they do, either get over here on the near side, or if you feel that you can take them, be here. Play the cat and mouse game with them. Wash your left hand, and make sure you don't get beat.
And then, how far to the left of the player knocking in should defender position themselves?
Far enough over here. I mean, not so far that you're allowing them to break this way, and far enough that you're making them tap in enough angle. So what I do is, depending on where the ball is, right? I kind of do it. I'm at like a 45-degree angle, okay, to them. All right, and that's sort of how I kind of play it when I'm playing against. I'm playing one. I've kind of played every position in high goal, but when I'm playing high goal and one, I want to make this player hit. I'm about 45 degrees, because the biggest thing, what I don't want is I don't want to get beat to the left. I don't want to get beat to the left, but I want to challenge them a little bit too mentally, I want them to think about it, because if they do get beat left, if they do go run left, I want to be able to get there and beat them. And I have to know my horse, right? I want to challenge them. I love, personally, when I'm up there, I want to challenge somebody mentally. I want them to say, should I go left? Should I go left? Let me try it. And they try it and they get beat. And they go, oh, darn it. Now I can control them. Now I can even start wider and make them go more angle, because they know that they can't go. I mean, they probably might be able to beat me, but they thinking in their mind they can't. You know what I'm saying? So I would say 45 degrees, about like what we're doing here, to that player.
Okay, great. And then another question we have is, I've never been told to line up away from my opponent. I've always been next to them. Can you talk about this a little bit more?
Yeah, you can be next to them, okay? Defensively, you can be on top of them. That's fine. But the problem is that when you're next to somebody and you're messing around and you're farting around and you're going around, if they're smarter than you, they can beat you every time. If somebody comes and lays on me, that's fine. I want them to come lay on me. If I'm out there past 30 yards and they want to come lay on me, fine. I'll beat you every time, because you have to react to me. Now, if I'm off of you, if they're off of me, now they have time to react to my action, okay? And so that's why I'm saying, line up. You don't have to be this far out, okay? It's just whatever. What I'm saying to be this far out, because once somebody in polo, the average player in polo starts one direction, they stay that direction. They don't change, and that just allows you to react to them, okay? But if you're next on somebody, you better be on them. I mean, you better be laying on them, because what mostly happens is you get on them, and then all they do is you end up here on this side of them, right here, and now they're facing straight down the field, okay? Or you're on whatever side, but they start heading down the field. The reason I want to be out here is I want to be able to react to what they do. That's the only reason I want to be off them a little bit, especially if they line up inside the 30. They're going to be coming running, so I want to give a little leeway for them to so I can get my momentum up too. But it's okay to be on people, but I guarantee you, if you're on a better player, they'll beat you every time. Because they're not just going to stand there and let you take them. So that's the only reason I would say don't line up on them so hard. I would say give them a little bit and make them go through you to get to where they want to go, if that makes sense.
And then another question, if I'm playing one on the knock-in, my job is to get free. Yes. If that player is right on top of me, what advice do you have for shedding that player and getting free?
Go away from him. Don't just stand it. What most people do, and like this play right here, most people just come and they get outside the 30 and they stand there. Well, once you're outside that 30, they can come on you. And it's sort of like what she just asked. The question is, I was told to get on somebody. Well, they can't. If players coming on you, go back inside the 30, and you can start over here in the corner. I mean, you can start over in the corner if you want. Do what you want to do. You can start back here. You start back with the 4 behind the ball and come out on the field. Keep moving. Stay away from them. Use the rules to your advantage. They can't be inside the 30. So if somebody's out here and they're waiting for you, Stay inside the 30 until your play happens. Okay. And on a penalty, let's say you're on a penalty 5, don't just stand there. Start back. Go back up here. If the penalty 5 is going this way, start back up here inside, and then time it. Like I said, go, and then you take off. Beat them to where you want to be. You know where you want to be when on a knock-in on that second shot or on the first shot or whatever your play is. You know where you want to be. So time it so that you can get there and shed that player. So you don't have to be standing. You don't have to go out there and stand. That's what I tell my teammates. Move. Get away. If I'm coming up, you know what's going to happen. So get away from your player and then boom, jump out there.
Mm-hmm. We've got time for maybe one, maybe two more questions. So if you want in, now's the time. Question for you, Charlie, says, so how do you practice these skills with your team? Do you run these set plays over and over? Do you ask local teams to come and run practice truckers? How do you do this?
Well, in the average polo, it's very tough. I mean, because I said, people show up, they want to play, they want to do this, and also it's very, very rare that a team stays together more than a couple games in a tournament or something. If you can, if it's great, if you can get together for a practice session, I do it with my teams. You get together for a practice session and you do a couple, like a stick and ball session. All 4 of you can show up and you just practice them. Just go through them and talk about it and see where they want to go and have the 4 hit and so you can see it. And then if you get a practice game, practice them. I mean, and I was talking about high goal, but we used to, do practice sessions and then practice games and and all that. I mean, you practice your stuff in the practice games. Now you didn't want to show it too much because the teams were watching you, but you wanted to do that. If you had your, the best case scenario, you can do this, a couple of times a week and play a couple of times a week. So, but yeah, if you can, yes, please do. The other thing is that the least you should do is have a whiteboard at your game and just talk about it. Even if you guys can meet for a beer, you and whoever's playing, meet for a beer the night before and go over it with a whiteboard. That's a great thing to do too.
Okay. Got a bunch of great stuffs and thank yous. One more question and then we're going to end it. William says, shouldn't I stay on the mallet side of a player who is better than I am when I am defending?
If you can, yes. But you can if you're here, if you're on the inside of this player and he's a better player, what he's going to do is going to hold you until that ball goes and then he's going to break away from you. I would rather have you on these set plays, getting on, like I said, between them and your goal, and forcing them, over to a certain play, over to a certain area you want them to go. If you're in the field, and you're running up and down the field and it's not a set play and you can get on the mallet side of somebody, heck yeah, please do it all day. But if you're on set plays, I'd rather have you looking through the player to the play so you know what's going on. Because if somebody comes up on my mallet side and I'm coming across here, all I'm going to do is I'm going to push you towards here. If I'm the number 1, I'm going to push you, to this way all the way to here. And when I know that next ball is being released to down here, okay, I'm gonna break. And when I break, I'm going to leave you. And then your horse's head's going to be at my tail. And I hope you can visually see what I'm talking about. Because if I break to my left, your reaction cannot. You're not going to stay with me if I do it correctly.
Yeah, and as a 0 who plays 4, I mean, I was told that too in the early days. But if they're really better than you, making a hook on them is not nearly as easy as it sounds. And
Exactly.
riding them off is not, you can ride them off, but if they're really a lot better than you, then you've just given them the ability to go to the near side. So, yeah, I'd much rather them have to come through me than to try to make those plays,
Yeah,
right?
again, exactly. And the thing is you can ride down all the way down the field. If you're on the inside here, and you can ride all the way down here, and the percentage shots, as long as they stay out here, and as long as they're outside this side, this angles, those are low percentage shots. They're outside there. And if you can stay between them and the goal, at all costs, you're taking them down. If you're against a better player and you're making them shoot from outside, you're doing your job. You're doing your job. If you're with them and bumping them and keeping them, not allowing them to make the turn. If you can as a lower level player against a better player here, if I can keep this player running this direction and run over the boards and not make this turn downfield, I've done my job. I've done my job. There's nothing else I can do. And that's what that's my, my advice. If my teammates do that and they just run everybody to the boards, and great, well done. Even Eric said, in the last one, and Linfoot, a great quote was, if everybody does their job, the ball stands still. So, that's my thing. I hear that a lot. Should always be on the 6 side, always 6. That's great if you're in open play and you're running down the field and you have a choice, yeah. But 9 times out of 10, I'd rather have you between the goal and the player.
All right, that is great stuff, Charlie. I could sit and listen to you talk all night long. We've got lots of thank yous and great presentations and thank you so muches, which I'd like to add to that. I know I learned a lot. I want to remind everybody of our next webinar, which is Thursday, August 23rd with Sunny Hale. As Charlie said, first woman to win the U.S. Open, formerly rated at 5 goals, currently the U.S. highest rated woman player at 3 goals, founder of the Women's Championship Tournament and the American Polo Horse Association. She will be talking about buying horses, which is a challenge for all of us. Oh my gosh. So that's going to be really fun. August 23rd, we did record this webinar. I will be posting it as soon as humanly possible and sending everybody a link so that you can download it and or watch it at your convenience. I want to thank everybody, and I especially want to thank Charlie and the United States Polo Association for making this possible, and for you all as well for joining us. So we'll see everybody next time on August 23rd. Charlie?
Can I just add real quick that please, everybody, I would ask you to do this. I'm on the marketing committee and I'm on a bunch of other committees for the USPA, but please email the USPA and say that you like this if you do. Because we really want to keep this going. I personally want to keep this going for all of you members, and how we're going to keep it going is by you guys saying how much you like it and want to support it. So thank you so much again for joining us. Anything else?
That's it. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you. Good luck in your polo endeavors.